Sometimes we whisper to ourselves, "I'll do it later, tomorrow, next week," as if time were an endless well we can dip into whenever we please. Yet every delay, no matter how small, quietly chips away at the life we could be living. In a single day, the average person checks a phone 96 times, scrolls the height of a 60-story building, and switches between apps every 50 seconds. Each swipe feels harmless, even necessary, but the minutes add up like water slipping through cracked fingers. Before we notice, an hour, a day, a year has vanished, leaving only the residue of tasks undone and dreams deferred. Scientists call this present bias. Our brain prefers the comfort of now over the reward of later. Surveys across 20 countries show that 1 in 5 adults admit to chronic procrastination. Among university students, the number climbs to 1 in 2. The pattern is the same everywhere. Postpone the uncomfortable, chase the easy dopamine, promise we will catch up tomorrow. Meanwhile, opportunities ripen and rot on the vine. Scholarships miss their deadlines, business ideas stall, relationships cool, while we wait for a better moment that never arrives. The cost is not measured only in lost hours, but in lost momentum, lost confidence, lost versions of ourselves we might have become. If you have ever closed your laptop at midnight vowing to start early, then opened it again at 2 a.m., deeper in distraction, you already know the quiet panic that follows. Time is not a neutral backdrop, it is the clay from which we sculpt every outcome we care about. Respect it, and it becomes an ally. Ignore it, and it becomes the silent thief of regret. Tonight's story is both warning and map. It begins with a boy who believed tomorrow would forgive him forever, and ends with 3 simple truths that can turn anyone from spectator to architect of their own hours. The boy's village sat where the river bent like a question mark, and every afternoon he watched the water hurry past while he lay in the grass repeating, "Later." Fields needed tilling. Books needed reading, clocks needed heating, yet he answered each summons with the same careless shrug. Seasons turned, friends left for the city, the village bakery expanded into a chain. He remained the boy on the bank, applauding other people's progress like a spectator at a race he never entered. When the wise man arrived, hair white as moonlight and eyes bright as dawn, the square filled with petitioners. A girl clutching blueprints for a windmill asked how to keep fear from paralyzing her hands. A widower asked how long grief stays. The boy waited until dusk, then stepped forward and spoke the heaviest sentence a person can carry, "I think I've wasted my life." The wise man listened the way a lake listens, surface still, depths alive. "Time," he said, "is not a bully chasing you, it is a currency you alone decide how to spend." Let me tell you about a king who tried to give his friend a fortune and how that friend traded gold for grain, then grain for sleep. Generations earlier, the king had studied beside the friend in a one-room school built from cedar and ambition. Years later, the king wore rubies on his sash while the friend wore excuses on his tongue. Hearing the familiar lament of bad luck, the king offered an experiment. "Between now and sunset, whatever you can carry from my treasury is yours." The friend sprinted home, chest already burning with imagined wealth. Yet the same mind that could picture piles of gold could not picture beginning at once. "Eat first," he reasoned, "treasure later." He chewed slowly, tasting tomorrow. Eyelids sagged. The bed beckoned. He surrendered to a nap thick with dreams of marble mansions. His wife shook him at mid-afternoon. He snapped, "The sun is high," and drifted off again. Finally, he lumbered toward the palace, stopping beneath a pomegranate tree just for a moment. The breeze smelled of sweetness and delay. The shade felt like mercy. Sleep sealed his eyes a third time. When twilight clanged the city gate shut, he arrived panting, arms empty, heart newly acquainted with the arithmetic of squandered hours. The guard shrugged. The treasury doors had closed at sunset, as they always do. He blamed the king, the heat, the tree, the world, every culprit except the one staring back from his reflection. The wise man paused. Fireflies floated between him and the boy like tiny lanterns searching for lost minutes. "3 truths hide inside that story," he said. First, time is the only treasure that cannot be stored, borrowed, or refunded. Second, procrastination is not laziness. It is the quiet lie that feelings must improve before action can begin. Third, small, specific starts defeat large, vague intentions every single day. He pressed a smooth river stone into the boy's palm. Carry this. When you catch yourself saying later, grip it and begin the tiniest part of the task at hand. Let the stone remind you that momentum, like a river, favors the one who steps in, not the one who waits for perfect weather. The boy walked home stone in fist, mind unpinned from its old groove. He opened a notebook and wrote not study everything, but read page 1. He set a tiny hourglass borrowed from the kitchen. When sand finished falling, he closed the book and played flute for 10 minutes, guilt-free. Days stacked like bricks. Page 1 became Chapter 1. Chapter 1 became a past exam. Past exams became a scholarship letter stamped with the city's best seal. Villagers who once cited his sloth now sought his advice on planting seasons and bookkeeping. He answered them the way the wise man had answered him, with stories, with specifics, with the humility of someone who had almost missed the sunset. Years later, when the boy, now a young man with calloused hands and a calendar that smiled back at him, returned to the riverbank, he brought 2 things: a windmill blueprint that would irrigate every field, and the same river stone, still warm from daily touch. He placed the stone on the wise man's gravestone, whispering, "I kept my promise to time, and time kept its promise to me." Then he opened the blueprint and began explaining gear ratios to a circle of children who would never know the weight of waiting forever. Remember, the graveyard is the richest place on earth, buried with books never written, songs never sung, apologies never spoken, all because later felt safer than now. Pick the smallest action you have been postponing. Give it 10 focused minutes. Let the deadline of sunset, whether it arrives in 8 hours or 80 years, find you already in motion, sleeves rolled, stone in hand, treasury doors wide open to the possible